Welcome to the 15-Minute Patriot Podcast. I am Ross, the Dude Maher from Rhode Island, and I am joined by my colleagues, Dave, the Wild Man Wilder from Southeastern Massachusetts, and David Sod from the free state of Florida. We know
Thank
there are
God.
many there are many outlets and sites for you to collect your news from, but here at 15-Minute Patriot, we focus on what the news should prompt you to do. We focus on action steps. Knowledge is important, but citizenship requires action. So, even if you'll take 15 minutes a month, you'll be pleasantly surprised to see what you can accomplish. We, the people, are at the top of our government, and it's time to get involved. Lastly, we want to hear from you and about the things that you've done. So you can email us at 15-Minute Patriot. That's 15-Minute Patriot at gmail.com, or on Facebook at 15-Minute Patriot. And with that, leading us off from Southeastern Massachusetts is going to be Dave, the Wild Man Wilder.
Yeah, so we got to talk about this Autopen thing. I had known nothing about it until a few weeks ago, and Autopen is got this almost constitutional crisis aspect about it now. So I want to see if you guys did your homework. Who was the first president to use Autopen for an executive order?
Oh,
Now,
And if you don't know, take a wild guess.
William Henry Harrison.
I'm going to go with Joe Biden.
No, President Obama.
Ooh,
Really?
that sounds right, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually, he was overseas when the Patriot Act legislation was going to be scheduled to expire. So he actually used the Autopen. He authorized the Autopen for his signature so that legislation wouldn't expire. Interesting. And I'm wondering at this point if Trump proceeds with challenging the Biden Autopen use in court, will that go back to Obama's signatures and negate some of those as well?
That's a really interesting point because I've been thinking about this for several days now. And one of the issues that keeps coming back to mind is intent. What is the intent? And so where I'm going with this is that President Obama, if he knew what he was acknowledging, what he was ordering. In the military, we had this, we would publish these things called fragmentary orders. We did it all the time. And at the very, very bottom, you would see this acronym, VOCO, and it stood for the verbal order of the commanding officer. So a commanding officer could say, you're going to go do this. You're going to go charge the hill. You're going to go do X, Y, Z. He didn't have to put it into writing. And later, it could be put into writing. And then they would say it was the verbal order of the. So being the commander in chief, it really raises an interesting issue as we look at not only President Obama, not only President Trump, but especially President Biden. And the question really comes down to, did he actually say, pardon this person, pardon that? Was it an act? You got to get into almost someone's mindset. Was it an active thought? Did he actually do it? Yeah. Or was it just somebody else, some staffer saying, here's what we're going to do? Or was it his chief of staff saying, here's what we're going to do, and we're going to use the Autopen and nobody's going to know the wiser?
Well, to that point, Wild Man, recently, Speaker of the House Johnson was talking to Biden about the fact that Biden had shut down the liquid natural gas,
yeah,
the LNG out in Louisiana. And Biden said, no, I didn't. And Johnson said, yes, you did, Mr. President. He goes, I would absolutely not. I didn't do that. I know I didn't do that. And Johnson had a copy of his executive order. So what did you sign? Did you know what you were signing? Now, based upon that little incident and the fact that I forget the investigator, the lawyer that investigated him, whether or not he would be able to stand trial, and said that he's just a doddering old man who forgets a lot of things and doesn't remember, and therefore it wouldn't be proper to indict him.
Yeah.
I forget the gentleman's name, Robert. I can't remember his name. That spoke in front of Congress. So based upon all of that, this man didn't even know what state he was in. I mean, at all. So how could he possibly know enough to pardon all of those people?
Well, I mean, yeah. And when I was looking into this, I was wondering, has SCOTUS ever ruled about Autopen? And there was an article that came out in 2013 that said SCOTUS did, but it was corrected later on. And it was interesting. The Smithsonian Magazine, an article by Jimmy Stamp in 2013, said that actually it was George Bush who asked the House Legal Counsel in 2005 about the use of Autopen. And they put out a 30-page memorandum. It wasn't a SCOTUS ruling. Has no legal impact. But in their 30-page memorandum, they pointed to a Massachusetts law or a case, and I can reference that. But that, and I actually was crazy enough, nerdy enough to go look that up, and it was a woman who was at the table who needed she needed to sign something, and she allowed someone in her presence and with full knowledge of her to sign something. So the White House has used this memorandum as proof that it's constitutional, even though their support required the person signing, the proxy, if you will, to be in the same presence with the person responsible for signing. So it's just a legal mishmash of opinions, and it should be a lot of fun figuring out what's going to really happen.
Yeah, and so to some degree, that kind of brings me back around to my initial point of, is it problematic to use some device or some type of a proxy as long as you have knowledge of that? I mean, think about this, right? Voting by proxy. I'm a member of USAA, right? It's auto insurance, and I get things in the mail at least annually that talk about attending their big national conference and ultimately voting by proxy. Of course, I've never gone to one of their big meetings, but we see this all the time, and it's completely legal. And I'm not trying to take an opposition type of position here, but it just it warrants the discussion of, in terms of my auto and homeowners insurance. Um, we give people proxy all the time to vote and act on our behalf. It's a very interesting issue. I think ultimately what it comes down to is you just said it's that full knowledge. It's the acknowledgement of, I'm consciously making a decision to give this person the ability to make choices. It's almost like federalism, and we talk about our federal government all the time. We nominate someone or we select someone to make decisions on our behalf, and that's, I think that's the real issue here as we're looking at this issue of pardons. President Biden and the current administration is, did he actually know? And was he the one? Did he give a positive, affirmative approval to sign a particular matter,
Okay.
whether it's a pardon or something else?
I think you have to make a distinction, though, about the impact of the signature. So if it's
Sure.
insurance, the only person you're really affecting is yourself or your family, right?
Fair point. Very good.
So
Excellent.
But what about legal action that affects the country? So that's, I think, raises it to a different level. Dave,
Well,
you have something?
yeah, to that point, at a much local level, there is a way to assign a proxy to vote on a budget here in Florida or anywhere else at a budget meeting for your HOA, for your local whatever budget that's taking place. But
And
that
stockholders meetings, yeah,
no,
proxies,
that budget is that proxy is limited to voting on the budget. If all of a sudden they were going to vote on a new chairman for the board or some new, no, you can't vote for that. It specifically frames itself that here's my proxy to vote on the budget. Now, if during that meeting they decide, well, we're gonna now add somebody else to the board of HOA or something like that, no, it doesn't work. That's a law. That does not work. The proxy is only for one specific thing. So to my point, a person sitting there executing this auto pen is writing pardons for all of these people and all of these criminals and whatever that are on death row and you name it. Do you think for 1 minute that that Biden just gave that person carte blanche authority to do that? That's where the argument's I think is going to lie. I mean, maybe his family, sure. His son, yeah. The J6 group, I mean, he left out some people, for that. How did he leave them out? Well, maybe the person that was executing the auto pen forgot that person.
Yeah.
I forgot there was somebody. Oh, the general there. What's his name?
Milley, Journal Milley.
No. The general that listened in on Trump's phone call with Zelensky.
Oh, he wasn't a general. He was a lieutenant. No, he was a lieutenant colonel. He's got a twin brother.
Right. Well, he didn't get a pardon. He was very upset about it.
Vindman.
Right. He didn't get a pardon because they forgot. I don't think it's a carte blanche thing. I think, here's a pardon for Dave Wilder, but I can't give other pardons out because the president specifically said, yeah, Wilder, I'm okay with. It's got to be.
It is interesting. I mean, this auto pen thing is a brand new topic for me, and looking into it, there is something in the Syracuse University College of Law published by Terry Turnipseed back in 2012.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say his last name is?
The name is Turnipseed.
Turnipseed.
Okay, I just want to make sure I heard it the right way.
Yeah, it says there, and Terry has written a number of articles in the law perspective. So I mean, there's some credibility there, and writing back in 2011, 2012, going into this issue, is it constitutional? And the timing, the urgency of it is important, but the conclusion is, in sum, the president's use of the auto pen, or even a human being, to sign a bill outside the president's presence is unconstitutional. And he concludes the Constitution does not allow for shortcuts, which I thought was interesting. So I think we're going to have a very interesting fight on our hands.
Yeah.
And if auto pen is determined to be misused by the office of the president, oh my goodness, how many executive orders, how many pardons, how many past executive orders will have to be taken off the books. Wow.
Yeah. And that really, wow. Sorry.
Yeah.
And if that's unconstitutional, is it a criminal act?
Well, that was brought up in one of the articles I was reading. Was it a criminal act? Because did this person act outside of the scope of what the president wanted? Then it becomes criminal. It's got to be criminal. I mean, they could have started pardoning people to which should never have. Well, a lot of them never should have gotten pardoned. But
I mean, are we Are we testing for fingerprints on these auto pen devices in the White House? I don't know.
Yeah. So how do you prove it? Like, I'm thinking about it like as a prosecutor and a defense attorney. I'm thinking like, all right, how do you prove this case? This is really, really difficult. And you're really relying on people to be honest with you. Oh yeah, sure. I said, yeah, go ahead, hit the start button.
But what's interesting, if President Biden comes out and says, "Oh no, I authorized all of those," this is over. But he hasn't done that.
It's done exactly.
Also,
because think about it. How are you going to disprove it?
Yeah. All right, Dave. I know you have some good ideas of what we as citizens can do about this. How should we respond to this craziness?
Well, I think you're going to refer back to the way Robert Hur, I remembered his name, described
good one.
Described Biden. And based on that description and accordingly, the Congress accepted it. How do you simply say, well, we're going to let a vegetable decide on pardons? Autopen and no Autopen. I know it's a little bit facetious, but the man, now it's been known they've been covering up him for 4 years. This is serious stuff when you're letting murderers get pardoned. You know, and people that absolutely committed a crime. The J6 committee withheld evidence. They lied, and I don't know. That's my point.
All right, so let close us out, Dave.
Anyways,
what are your thoughts?
Here we are. Thanks everybody for watching. For listening to the 15-Minute Patriot. Please contact us at 15minutepatriot@gmail.com. Let us know your opinions, topics you'd like us to discuss. And you can also visit us on Facebook at the 15-Minute Patriot and leave us some information there. And we look forward to talking with you again next week.
Yeah, and let your representative know that they should make a law making it illegal to use Autopen for legal documents. Good grief.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, have a great time. Take care. Bye-bye.